Hi there, everybody. I'm Misty Lynch, and today I want to talk about a recap for the market in the month of October. October was a positive month for US stocks, even with the shutdown and the headlines, and basically a data blackout. But big tech earnings and AI investment has kept an appetite for risk alive out there in the markets. And late in the month, the Fed cut rates by 25 basis points, but also signaled that a December cut is not a sure thing. And I think that's important to know. I know some people got a little nervous, or some people are thinking about refinancing and other things that could be very impacted by interest rates. And I think the market was basically saying, yes, we're definitely getting cuts in October and December. And I can't really tell if Fed Chair Powell said, that December rate cuts aren't a sure thing to kind of slow us down the way my dad used to slam on the brakes when I was a kid if I took my seatbelt off a little too early. Not that we're really going to not do anything or that he's not going to cut, but kind of you're getting a little ahead of yourself, pricing it in, saying it's a guaranteed. So more to come on that. Um, Again, there's not a lot of data out there to analyze, but I do think that the odds are still fairly positive. Over 50%, close to 70% that they will get another additional rate cut in December, but we will see. As far as equities, yeah, U.S. stocks notched another gain. The S&P 500 rose 2 to 3% in October, depending on the source we look at, and that's 6 straight months of up markets, multiple fresh records, and this is led a lot by AI, strong mega cap results, and the Nasdaq also outperformed. Amazon earnings also helped cap the month on a high note. Um, Gains were concentrated in AI beneficiaries, which I think we do have a lot of, exposure to, and this is something that we've seen for pretty much a while now. But that's kind of, again, people are now talking about that in November, saying, are these companies overvalued? More to come, but the earnings are there. So that's what's important when we think about other times when the market has had bubbles. Usually there's enthusiasm and momentum, but there's not, the earnings aren't there, the actual performance results numbers aren't there. So that's where this may be a little different. So I am not quick to call this a bubble with the earnings, but I do think that these are highly valued companies. And so whether or not they're overvalued is kind of out there to be determined. But we're still, obviously diversified across many sectors, more than just tech, just in case we start to see some volatility or pullback in those areas. But they have been performing quite well for us so far. Um, and when I think about, going back to, um, the Fed funds rate, I do think that we could continue to see cuts. Like I said, the odds are about 60 to 70% depending on where you look. And I think that the uncertainty around a guaranteed cut, I think there's been a lot of pressure on rates to come down for a while, is really just we don't have a lot of data, like I said before. So I think that um, it's hard to be super confident and see that. So even the October consumer price index release is at risk. It might be delayed, could be coming out at some point soon. So I do think that, we can prepare for, the market could continue to do quite well. Again, as far as the holdings and our policies, I think we at Soundview, we are diversified. We do tilt in different directions, if we do feel like there is opportunity or ways to reduce exposure while capturing gains. I think that's important. We will see as rates are cut, we move into longer positions of bonds, not very long. We're looking 1 to 3 or a little bit further out than we have been in the super short term to try to get that additional reward without taking on much more risk. If you've been impacted by the government shutdown, now I will say this. The government shutdown now, as of today, has entered the longest period of a government shutdown historically. We are all going to be impacted by this. Everyone. When there's a quick shutdown, usually it impacts people directly who are getting paid by the government. But now at this point, we have people who are missing a paycheck, possibly missing 2 paychecks. This is leading to a lot of financial pressure on a lot of people in our country. It's leading to a lot of stress. You might see airport delays. You might see people calling out. They are even saying now at some point they may need to reduce the airspace that we use because there is not enough air traffic controllers working. People are working extra hours to cover for people and they're not getting paid. This is stressful. This is very, very stressful. So all of us are impacted in one way or another, whether it means that you need to directly reach out because either your pay has been reduced or cut, or people are not spending and you're like there's definitely an impact that comes indirectly. So these are some things that you could think of, if you need to, if we are, as I said, impacted in one way or another. We have contingency funds. Yeah. So after October 17th, the contingency funds were done. We don't have consumer price index numbers. SNAP and WIC, there's been, cuts to that. They have ordered that the administration uses emergency reserves. But these dollars actually, it does stimulate the economy. Every dollar that's given out is like a dollar, I think it was $1.37, something like that in spending. So it impacts people in lots of ways, in lots of ways. So again, there is a lot going on in that area. More to come on that. I do hope that the shutdown ends soon. I do think that the delays, this is going to collide directly into all of this other economic data that we look at. And it's really just going to start to hurt people. I have seen a lot of things locally, local businesses stepping up, saying if you've been impacted by this, if you're not getting your SNAP benefits or you're part of if you've been furloughed or you aren't getting paid, we will feed you, we will do this, which is just, I think it just shows, and I think I've thought this for a long time and I've said it before, local communities, small businesses. Now Republican or Democrat, I don't necessarily believe that anybody in government is going to come out and save us. I think and that's why we work together on financial planning and investing, because I feel like we are responsible for ourselves, our family, our community is on us to do the work and to take care of ourselves and not hope for somebody else to come save us. I hadn't seen it growing up. I still don't believe that is, someone else is out there today that's going to step in and do that. But we have seen local businesses step up. And I love local businesses. I shop local when I can. I support the businesses in my town, in my community. And I think that that's really important. Even if you have no money to spend, if you see those people posting those things online that they're going to help, they're offering to step in and take care of people who maybe don't have access to food or aren't getting paid. I think that that's just one of those things that makes small business and community special. So enough on that. But if you are also starting to feel it financially, prioritize your essentials: housing, utilities, food, transportation, insurance. Call your lenders, call your creditors, see if they have a hardship plan or any payment deferral if you've been impacted by the federal shutdown. A lot of these institutions do. And so it's worth reaching out. Is it embarrassing? Potentially, but who cares? This is not any personal failing on anyone's part. So use these programs, reach out. If you know people in your family, community who are impacted, let them know that these things exist. Sometimes it's just hard to know what to do, but you can. And the worst thing they're going to say is, no, we can't. Okay. But I do think it's worth asking, because I think a lot of people are kind of prepared to help, whether it's giving you more time or certain things. There are some programs and assistance out there for people who've been impacted. And back pay is typical. Historically, furloughed federal employees will get back pay when the shutdown ends. And that could be helpful when negotiating with landlords, creditors, things like that, to just say, yes, this, and no, we don't know for sure if they will give back pay, but typically they have. So hopefully that could be something to help prove that at some point, you will be able to get back on track. And document everything. Keep your furlough notices, keep your pay stubs, keep notes, then the people you speak with on the phone. This is going to help. And you might have to go back to it. I do this quite frequently when I'm calling, when we're making rollovers or transfers, we write down who I spoke with, what the time was, because sometimes you'll call back and they'll be like, who did you talk to? And you really want to know those things. So minor thing, keeping those documents and notes pretty clean. And reaching out to, other types of help, your utility companies and things like that, I think will be very worth checking into and worth trying. Same if you have student loans, servicers remain open. You can still apply for income-driven repayment or deferment or forbearance if your pay is interrupted. So those things still exist. And yeah, just simply ask for any shutdown related deferral programs or assistance that come up. Things to look out for in November. I think we'll watch more comments from the Fed, see if we get more clarity around the conversation about rate cuts, what, with the limited data we have, like what that looks like. We will see, earning season tail off. So we might get some more information there from that sector. And then hopefully there'll be some shutdown resolution or a path to that will be hopefully coming in, the next couple of days or weeks. So I know we're heading into the holidays. I think that, there's a few people, that have some meetings to set up for year end. We will be reaching out in the beginning of the year to start setting up those annual review meetings to talk, but always, your financial plan is it's not seasonal, it's always going on. So if anything comes up with you personally where you really like to come in and talk about your the changes to your financial plan, your future, some of your goals, or anything that's coming up that's on your mind for now or the near future, please, schedule some time to connect with me, and I'd be happy to talk to you about any of these things that are going on that could impact you and your family. So thank you so much. I hope you have a great month.